Caitlin Clark didn't just enter the WNBA, she exploded into it like a supernova. Record viewership, sold-out arenas. People who never watched women's basketball suddenly couldn't look away. But with all that spotlight came backlash. The kind that simmers in silence, then leaks out in clipped interviews and awkward on-court interactions. As her star rose, so did the whispers. Was she getting too much attention? Was the league bending over backwards for her? Was she even liked? And in the middle of all that noise, one voice broke through, Kelsey Mitchell's.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
While others avoided the conversation or tiptoed around the Caitlin discourse, Mitchell straight up refused the anti-Clark agenda. She praised Clark's leadership, work ethic, and most importantly, her impact, not just on the Indiana Fever, but on the entire league. She didn't play into the rivalry narrative. She didn't act threatened. She recognized the truth. Caitlin Clark is transforming women's basketball, and pretending otherwise doesn't make anyone look tougher. It makes the league look divided. For months, fans have felt the tension, not just on the court, but in press conferences, social media posts, and coded language. Clark was being iced out, not always overtly, but unmistakably. And yet here's Mitchell, one of the team's vets, saying what needed to be said. That Clark belongs here. That her presence is good for everyone. That the real power move is unity, not petty competition. It hit different, because Mitchell's comments weren't PR scripted fluff. They were real. They showed maturity, leadership, and a total lack of insecurity. And in a league where respect sometimes feels like a zero-sum game, that kind of honesty, it's rare. Her support didn't just elevate Clark, it challenged the rest of the league to do better, to stop side-eyeing success, to recognize that uplifting one star doesn't dim the others. Mitchell made it clear, growth, legacy, and respect can coexist, but only if players are willing to drop the politics and embrace the moment. Now fans are paying attention, not just to Caitlin Clark, but to the culture shift Kelsey Mitchell is calling for. Because she didn't just defend a teammate, she challenged the entire ecosystem. And for a league that's still fighting for mainstream relevance, unity isn't optional, it's critical. So when Mitchell took a stand, she didn't just change the conversation. She raised the bar. And maybe, just maybe, that's what the WNBA needs more than anything right now. The WNBA's carefully curated image just took a direct hit, courtesy of Kelsey Mitchell, who's officially done with the unspoken, uncomfortable silence around the treatment of Caitlin Clark. In a league where most players stay buttoned up and diplomatic, Kelsey chose truth. Loud, clear, and unapologetic. She didn't whisper it. She didn't sugarcoat it. She called out what so many fans, analysts, and even other athletes have tiptoed around for months. The bias, the pettiness, and the weird energy toward Caitlin Clark that's been hanging over the league like a storm cloud. And here's what made it land with so much weight. Kelsey Mitchell has nothing to prove. She's a respected vet. She's carved out her place in the league. And still, she put her own standing on the line to do something that's become painfully rare in professional sports. Publicly supporting someone in the league is quietly treating like a problem. Because that's what this has turned into, hasn't it? Caitlin Clark showed up with a wave of momentum behind her, breaking records, selling out arenas, dominating headlines. And rather than meet her with open arms, parts of the WNBA ecosystem responded with side eyes and silence. Media attention, backhanded interviews. Fans left guessing whether some of the league's biggest names were clapping for her or plotting against her. But Kelsey didn't play that game. She looked past the politics, the narratives, and the noise. She spoke directly to what actually matters: work ethic, leadership, and impact. In her words, Caitlin Clark is not just another rookie. She's a force, a generational talent, someone who, whether people like it or not, is transforming the sport. And let's be honest, Kelsey didn't just elevate Caitlin. She elevated herself. Because while the league scrambled to control the discourse, Mitchell stepped in and provided something corporate messaging can't fake: authenticity. That authenticity? It sparked a wildfire. Her words didn't just go viral. They shifted the conversation entirely. Overnight, Kelsey became a trending topic. Fans flooded timelines with praise. Pundits couldn't stop quoting her. And suddenly, the entire narrative flipped. It wasn't, "Is Caitlyn overhyped?" anymore. It was, "Why did it take this long for someone to say what we've all been thinking?" Because the truth is, fans are exhausted by the politics. They're tired of watching generational athletes get the cold shoulder because they didn't come up through the right pipeline or get the veteran stamp of approval. They're sick of coded language, underhanded jabs, and the refusal to call out unfairness when it's standing in the middle of the court, 5 feet from the basket. Kelsey Mitchell wasn't afraid to break that silence. She wasn't afraid to say, clearly and firmly, that Caitlin Clark belongs, not in the future, but right now. That her presence, her popularity, and her performance are not a threat to the league. They're an opportunity. And that shift, it's powerful. Because Kelsey's comments weren't just about one player. They were about what the WNBA could be if it got out of its own way. A league that supports talent instead of gatekeeping it. A league that encourages camaraderie over cattiness. A league where competition doesn't mean cold wars and silent treatment. Mitchell is setting a tone, one rooted in respect. And that respect is exactly what's been missing. While fans are celebrating Clark's arrival as a cultural reset, too many voices from inside the league have stayed quiet. Or worse, passive-aggressive. Kelsey's praise was a hard pivot from all of that. It was clear, unforced, and most importantly, genuine. She talked about Clark's leadership, her ability to impact games beyond the stat sheet, her presence as a game changer, not just for her team, but for the league at large. That kind of acknowledgement doesn't come cheap in a sport where veteran respect is earned, not gifted. But Kelsey didn't gatekeep. She gave credit where it was due, and it landed. Because when someone like Mitchell speaks, you listen. This isn't a rookie trying to stir up press. This is a player who's been in the trenches, who's built her own legacy, who knows what it means to fight for visibility. So when she says Caitlin Clark is elevating the game, it's not pandering. It's truth. That truth hit harder than any press release ever could. Because it didn't just expose the double standard, it exposed the fear behind it. The fear that someone like Caitlin Clark could disrupt the unspoken rules. That she could dominate the narrative without waiting in line. That her arrival could shift the league's image in a way that's never happened before. And instead of resisting that shift, Kelsey welcomed it. She made it clear that rising stars don't threaten veteran players. They amplify them. That real leaders want to share the spotlight. Because they understand that when the league wins, everyone wins. Mitchell didn't make it about sides. She made it about standards. And the standard she set? That players shouldn't have to apologize for being great. But they shouldn't be punished for being hyped. That their success should be met with celebration, not quiet resentment. Her words forced a conversation the league had been dodging for months. What does it say when one of the league's best has to break ranks just to say something positive about its most visible player? What does it say when honesty feels rebellious? What does it say when respect becomes controversial? Kelsey Mitchell didn't just support Clark. She dragged the WNBA out of a culture of quiet bitterness and into the possibility of something better. She reminded everyone that this league isn't built on drama. It's built on talent. And if the WNBA wants to grow, it needs to start acting like it. Because while social media celebrated her bravery, the ripple effect was deeper than likes or retweets. Players started speaking up. Fans became louder. And the pressure on the league to match Mitchell's tone became impossible to ignore. She set a precedent. From now on, this is the standard. Speak with integrity. Celebrate your peers. Challenge the narratives that don't serve the game. And don't let silence masquerade as professionalism. Kelsey Mitchell's message wasn't just about one season, one player, or one media moment. It was about legacy. Not just her legacy, but what kind of legacy this league wants to have. And that legacy? It starts with honesty. So now the WNBA has a choice. Double down on silence, or follow Kelsey's lead. Because one thing's for sure, fans want to root for this league. They're showing up in droves. They're tuning in, buying merch, filling stadiums. But what they won't support is a culture of pettiness disguised as pride. They want athletes who lift each other up, who speak the truth, who set standards without tearing others down. They want Kelsey Mitchell energy. And if the league's listening, really listening, they'll see this moment for what it is, not a controversy, but a catalyst. So here's the final takeaway. Kelsey Mitchell didn't just have Caitlin Clark's back. She had the league's back. She did what the front office wouldn't. She led. And that kind of leadership, it echoes. Let's know where you stand. Is Kelsey Mitchell the voice of reason the league needed? Did her words change your perspective? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. Because if this is the start of a new era in the WNBA, we're just getting warmed up. Let's not kid ourselves. The WNBA has been aching for a moment like this. Not a buzzer beater, not a marketing campaign, not a logo rebrand. A real moment. One that cuts through the noise, shakes the room, and forces the league to confront its own reflection. And that mirror moment, it came courtesy of Kelsey Mitchell. She didn't just speak up. She dismantled the unspoken tension that's been quietly festering behind the scenes since Caitlin Clark touched a professional court. Because for months, the vibe around Clark hasn't just been awkward, it's been icy. Every time she broke a record, broke through a double team, or brought in a new wave of fans, there was a noticeable pause. A weird silence. A deliberate withholding of praise. And when reactions did come, they were often coded, clipped, or laced with just enough passive aggression to keep plausible deniability. Mitchell? She broke the pattern. She looked at the politics and said, "Nope, we're not doing this." And in doing so, she exposed how broken the response to Clark has really been. Not just from other players, not just from the media, from the league itself. Because if the WNBA had embraced Clark's rise from day one with full-throated support and smart positioning, Kelsey wouldn't have needed to say anything. But she had to, because no one else would. And that's what makes this a watershed moment. Not just for Caitlin Clark, but for the WNBA's entire identity. Because let's be brutally honest, this league is at a crossroads. It can either keep clinging to outdated notions of hierarchy, paying dues, and invisible lines of veteran loyalty, or it can evolve. It can stop being afraid of its own growth and start leaning into what it could be. And if there's one thing that's clear from this whole situation, it's that fans are done with the gatekeeping. You don't grow a sport by making newcomers feel like outsiders. You don't win over the next generation of viewers by policing who gets celebrated. And you definitely don't build a legacy by acting like one rookie's rise is an insult to the past. But that's exactly how too many people have been treating Caitlin Clark's success. As if her media buzz is some kind of personal attack. As if her highlights somehow erase the contributions of the players who came before her. As if being the face of a new WNBA era is an offense, not an opportunity. And that's toxic. It's also untrue. And Kelsey Mitchell called it out in the most direct way possible. She didn't play the game. She didn't issue a vague, lukewarm quote about everyone earning their spot. She openly, publicly, and powerfully praised Caitlin Clark. Not just for her skills, but for her impact. Because that's the part too many people are afraid to say out loud. Caitlin Clark is changing this league. She's not just bringing in more eyeballs. She's shifting the culture. And that kind of transformation doesn't come around often. It's not something you wait to earn. It's something that happens. And when it does, you either welcome it or you watch it pass you by. Kelsey Mitchell understood that. And while others stayed silent, she stood up and said, "We need to start acting like we actually want to grow." That's what this was really about. Not just Clark, not just Kelsey, not just the viral moment or the headlines. It was about growth versus ego. Do you embrace the moment, or do you try to control it? Do you celebrate the spotlight, or complain about who's standing in it? Do you uplift the player who's opening the door wider, or do you guard it like a security checkpoint? Mitchell made her choice clear, and it resonated for a reason. Authenticity wins. Every time. Because fans aren't stupid. They see through the fake smiles, the tension in post-game handshakes, the way certain players get praised while others are quietly iced out. They've been watching the body language, reading between the lines, tracking every awkward interview like detectives with a whiteboard. So when Kelsey Mitchell broke through with a message that felt honest, it cut through all the noise. It reminded fans what leadership actually looks like. Leadership isn't just racking up points or seniority. It's not who's been in the league longer or who has more all-star appearances. Leadership is standing in truth when it would be easier to stay quiet. It's refusing to let ego win. It's saying, yeah, she's great, and I'm not threatened by that. That's what Kelsey did, and it's why her words hit so hard. Because let's face it, there are players who could have said this months ago. Players who should have said it. But they didn't. They stayed quiet. Or worse, they fed into the rivalry narrative, whether directly or indirectly. And that silence? It was loud. It told fans everything they needed to know about the internal culture of the league. That there's still too many egos. Too much insecurity. Not enough room for mutual respect without political strings attached. But Kelsey Mitchell just rewrote the script. She proved that respect and competition can coexist. That you don't have to downplay someone's shine to protect your own. That lifting someone else up doesn't mean losing your place at the table. It means building a bigger table. And that message, it matters now more than ever. Because the WNBA isn't just in the spotlight, it's in the hot seat. Fans are watching. Media's watching. Sponsors are watching. And how the league responds to this moment will set the tone for the next generation. Will they embrace this new energy? Or will they smother it under internal politics and insecure silence? If they're smart, they'll follow Kelsey Mitchell's lead. Because her words didn't just challenge the narrative, they changed it. They gave permission to other players to speak freely. They gave fans a reason to keep believing in the potential of the league. And they gave Caitlin Clark something far more valuable than a headline. Respect. Earned, recognized, and voiced. Not handed out like a participation trophy. Not delayed for a future moment when she's paid more dues. Now, when it counts. And that's why this isn't just a one-week story. It's a marker in time. A moment where someone in the league finally said, we don't have to be petty to be powerful. We don't have to be jealous to be great. We can grow together. So what comes next? Does the league finally embrace its rising stars without resentment? Do other players start speaking with the same clarity and courage? Do the passive-aggressive headlines and awkward tension finally give way to actual unity? We don't know yet, but we do know this. Kelsey Mitchell changed the conversation, and it's not going back. She didn't wait for the league to give her a mic. She took it, and in doing so, she didn't just defend one player. She defended the future of the WNBA, one built on authenticity, on truth, on actual leadership. And now that she's spoken, the bar is higher. Kelsey Mitchell didn't just speak her piece and walk away. She shifted the atmosphere, and everyone felt it, players, fans, the media, even the league itself. The moment she refused to play along with the quiet resentment storyline and back Caitlin Clark out loud, the air got clearer. Finally, someone had the guts to say what so many others wouldn't. And it's not that others couldn't say it. It's that they wouldn't risk the backlash, the side eyes, the group chat blow-ups, the unspoken politics that come with breaking rank in a league that thrives on coded loyalty and silent pecking orders. But Kelsey, she wasn't here for the optics. She was here for the truth. And that truth, it shook people, because it revealed just how warped the WNBA discourse had become. That supporting Caitlin Clark, just praising her work ethic, leadership, and impact, was suddenly a controversial stance? Come on, that's not progress. That's a red flag. This isn't supposed to be high school. It's professional basketball. It's supposed to be a league of grown women, world-class athletes, elite competitors. Not a sorority house Cold War over who gets the most media attention. But that's what it was starting to feel like. Until Kelsey Mitchell snapped everyone out of it. Her words were more than a compliment. They were a challenge. She put the league on notice. She said, this girl is changing the game, and it's time we stop pretending that's a problem. And that's the real issue here. Because if Caitlin Clark were just a fluke or a flash in the pan, or riding a media wave without delivering on the court, then maybe the muted reactions and awkward tension would make sense. But that's not what's happening. She is delivering. She's showing up, grinding through every game, leading her team, and handling pressure that would flatten most rookies. And still, too many people act like she hasn't earned the right to be celebrated. Kelsey Mitchell wasn't having it. She saw the double standard and said something. That's more than what the league has done, more than what the front office has done, more than what a lot of the media has done, and definitely more than what too many of her fellow players have done. And you know what? That silence speaks volumes. Because there's been this false idea floating around that speaking up in support of Caitlin Clark somehow makes you less loyal to the sisterhood. As if backing someone new means betraying the veterans. As if praise has to be earned through a secret handshake and a decade of league dues. But Kelsey Mitchell exposed that mindset for what it really is: insecurity. The kind that keeps the league stuck in a scarcity model. The kind that says there's only so much spotlight to go around. That growth is a threat, not an opportunity. It's outdated, it's limiting, and it's holding the game back. But Kelsey broke that cycle. She modeled what actual leadership looks like in this moment. Not coddling, not ego, just honesty. Real, grounded, necessary honesty. And the best part? She didn't make it about herself. She didn't hijack the conversation. She just told the truth, gave credit where it was due, and stood firm in the belief that recognition isn't something to be hoarded. It's something to be shared. Because real leaders don't shrink the room. They expand it. And now, fans are watching. The ball is officially in the league's court. Will they embrace this energy? Will they start pushing a message of unity and authenticity? Or will they keep fumbling around, stuck in neutral, terrified of alienating players who still think gatekeeping is leadership? Because the longer they wait to lean into this shift, the more obvious it becomes that Kelsey Mitchell, not the marketing department, is doing the real work of moving the league forward. And fans? They're taking notes. They're noticing who's staying silent, who's still too cool to clap, who's more interested in keeping cliques intact than growing the game. And they're noticing who's actually showing integrity on and off the court. That's what makes Kelsey's move so powerful. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't performative. It was just right. And now that she's said it, everyone else has to choose. Do you keep pretending that praising Clark is some sort of betrayal? Or do you recognize the moment for what it is? An invitation to grow, to lead, and to finally act like a league that's ready for the global stage? Because the WNBA can't afford to keep dragging its feet while the rest of the world is paying attention. And if this is really a new era, Kelsey Mitchell just gave its first chapter. The era of honesty. The era of earned praise. The era of no more weird vibes. So what do you think? Is the league ready for that? Or are too many people still holding on to old grudges, waiting for the rookie hype to fade? Let us know in the comments. Hit that subscribe button for more stories where sports, culture, and accountability collide. And stay tuned. Because this isn't just a soundbite. It's a reckoning.